Hey everyone, Dr. Josh Matson here. I'm going to talk about something I was reading this morning. There's a book out there. It's by a guy named Levinson, and it's called, what is it called? So, A Solution to the Riddle of Dyslexia. I was talking about kids with learning disabilities and something that he found in those kids, that 94.1% of these kids with learning disabilities had this issue that was directly correlating to their specific learning disability. What he called it was a cerebellovestibular dysfunction. And what that means really simply is there's an area of your brain, sits right back here. It's called your cerebellum. Your cerebellum coordinates everything in the brain. It coordinates your frontal lobes to help you with attention. It coordinates how your eyes track. It coordinates your auditory perception. It coordinates how you move. It coordinates how your body functions. And that's one thing I'm going to talk a lot about in my seminar tomorrow, my workshop tomorrow, is the cerebellum and how it relates to kids' learning disabilities. But he found that the cerebellum wasn't coordinating the vestibular system appropriately. Your vestibular system is what gives you good perception of yourself in your environment and your environment around you, and the ability to have good spatial awareness and good sequential spatial abilities. So the ability to look at a word and be able to physically see that there's multiple different letters there, and they have a visual spatial awareness, but your vestibular system plays into that. But anyways, so your cerebellum is what coordinates all of that. And what we find, I 100% agree with him, is kids that come into our office that have learning disabilities, that have reading issues, that have comprehension issues, they almost always have a cerebellar issue, and most of the times they have a vestibular issue that's playing into their issues, and that affects how their eyes track, their physical abilities to track across the line, a reading line. It affects their comprehension because if those systems aren't functioning well, they can't coordinate their body well, and they're so focused on just being able to sit there and be able to track a line. They're not really worried about having to comprehend what the wording is saying. They're literally just focused on trying to get across the line. So I'm going to talk a lot more about this tomorrow in my workshop. This is going to be the main thing that I talk about, because it's not only consistent with kids with learning disabilities, it's also consistent with kids that have ADHD. It's consistent with kids that have autism. It's consistent with kids that have OCD, sensory processing disorder. They almost all of them that come into our office have some kind of issue with their cerebellum and their vestibular system to some extent or another. So I'm going to talk about why those issues are occurring and what we can do about it to help kids, because we're able to consistently help these kids in a huge percentage in our office, and it's really not hard. It's just looking at how they're developing. So tomorrow I'm going to talk about that in my workshop. I hope to see you guys there. I'll put a link to that below this, and have an awesome day.